Hey guys, I wanted to talk about something that I've been struggling to talk about until I, again, was able to say it aloud to one of my friends, which is my diagnoses. Since coming here, since being out of hospital where they basically, diagnose you with your eating disorder and they don't look too much further, and I never wanted people to look further. I basically didn't let people, and whenever someone handed me one of those, in my opinion, like silly pieces of paper where it asks you questions, and I just, oh no, I feel fine, and I basically go into positive mode, thinking about only my best whilst answering the questions and not considering my worst or my thoughts about myself or anything like that. But yeah, I basically put off diagnosis for years and years and years, and it's not because I believed that I was trying to avoid diagnosis. It was because I honestly believed that the only thing I had was an eating disorder and low self-worth, and that's it. And there's part of me that still thinks that, and that these diagnoses are just, if you were to exaggerate my symptoms, you could potentially call it that. But I still sort of think, but people normally suffer it worse than me, so I don't really have it. Oh, everyone's got a mental illness if you exaggerate a lot of their symptoms. You just have to look hard enough and really, really, exaggerate everything. So I sort of put it to that. But yeah, basically I came into my mind to share it with you guys because someone sort of said to me, maybe you have OCD. And I was like, oh, I haven't opened up at all, and now people are trying to diagnose me. Well, not trying to diagnose me, but they're trying to empathise and sort of think of when they've suffered from things, and they're hearing similarities. The diagnosis that I think is probably correct, and when I read about it I was like, oh my god, it's describing me, how do these people know me? It's not OCD, but it's OCPD. It's not obsessive compulsive disorder, it's obsessive compulsive personality disorder, and there is a big difference between them. For example, someone with OCD might have certain rituals that they have to follow, or else they are convinced that something bad will happen, or they just absolutely can't cope if they don't do those things, or they have various beliefs about not doing those things or doing those things, or what it might achieve in this way or another. It might be running back and forth touching things, it might be, rituals. I don't have any rituals, I have rules. And OCPD is more about very rigidly set guidelines in your life and ways that you definitely want things to be, and if they don't go those ways, it's very, very stressful and it can make you very irritated. You don't necessarily believe that it's going to lead to terrible things unrelated happening, but it's very hard to cope with that, so you end up sometimes not doing anything if it doesn't go the exact way that you planned, which is why I end up either doing everything or absolutely nothing. And why often the minute something does mess with my plans, I just go, oh, I'm not doing anything then. And that's even happened with food, where I don't think it was my eating disorder, it's just that it didn't go to plan, it didn't go the exact way that I wanted it to, so I was like, well, I just won't eat. And so it wasn't even me trying to lose weight, it wasn't me trying to cut out food, it was just me not getting it the way that I wanted, so I gave up on it. And my obsession with food isn't just with food, that's what's made me think I don't have an eating disorder anymore. I just have a lot of rules that I stick with, and I have an obsession with food, because the thing is, I have an obsession with everything. Everything there is to have an obsession about, I have an obsession about it. Every single thing that there is to research, I have researched. You wouldn't even believe it, I can't even get something like food for my pets without deeply researching it. That was still a food example, but you get what I mean, like I can't just get something. I have to research it like crazy. Like I was trying to explain it to my friends that I even have protocol for touching pets. I have things that I have to do first with that pet, and don't worry, it's all fine and good, but it's things like I research ways to communicate with cats, for example. This is just an example of one pet, and it's like before I can even begin to touch them, I have to give them the slow blink, and they have to slow blink me back, and then I need to put my finger to their nose so that it's almost like I'm putting my nose to their nose. It's sort of like I've turned my finger into a cat nose. So they're able to sniff me first, and then I have to wait till they pet me. I can't just start touching them. I have to wait till they literally rub their face on my finger or seem to want to be stroked and are sort of pushing against me before I can stroke them. I can't just walk up to them and go, oh, hello. And I certainly couldn't do that. I have protocols for the way that I have to stroke them, because I know that if you do the same movement repeatedly, that often leads to them feeling quite static and irritated and sort of annoyed at it, which is why often a cat, after being on your lap for a while, you're watching TV, you're stroking it away, you don't realise you're doing the exact same motion, and then suddenly they like spring up like they're annoyed and you don't understand why. So I have to do lots of different things, and I might do that stroke like once, maybe even twice, but I won't repeatedly go. But I'll do these different things. I won't necessarily use my whole hand. Anyway, that's just an example. Like, I literally research everything that there is to research. That's sort of where my OCPD fits into that. I'll go into my other diagnosis in a minute. I just want to read out some of the symptoms of OCPD, because it sort of gives you such a good description of exactly what it is. Oh, we don't want Wikipedia. Ugh, so complicated. We need like a nice, easy to read. Psych Central is a good one. It's a nice website. It's set out so pretty. Symptoms. Is preoccupied with details, rules, lists. I have so many lists I can't keep up with my lists, and my list to write lists are getting so big now that I don't know if I'll end up writing the lists. But I can't start to write various lists until I've done other lists, so that fits with me. Order, organisation or schedules. I've written lists to write schedules, but I still haven't gotten around to those schedules because I haven't finished the beginning of my list. I don't do prioritising very well. Actually I do, but then if I can't do the thing at the top of my priority, then I won't do the things below the top priority. But yeah, to the extent that the major point of the activity is lost. Yep. Shows perfectionism that interferes with task completion. For example, is unable to complete a project because his or her own overly strict standards are not met. Yep. Is excessively devoted to work and productivity to the exclusion of leisure activities and friendships. Yep. Is overconscious, scrupulous and inflexible about matters of morality, ethics or values. Yes, but I don't see that as a problem to me at all. Is unable to discard worn-out or worthless objects even when they have no sentimental value. I don't have that one, because I have a thing about only owning what I need. I hate owning anything that I am not using, so I just throw it out. So I'm throwing things out all of the time. But I hate throwing out things that are worth money, so in a way I don't throw it out. I put it all aside and I say, okay, I'm going to sell them. Okay, maybe I do fit with that one. Is reluctant to delegate tasks or to work with others unless they submit to exactly his or her way of doing things. In general, I'll just assume that I'll mess it up because I won't be able to figure it out in my head, so I just tend to back off. So that's usually my actual reason. It's not because other people won't do it to my standards or anything. But then that might be me trying to defend myself automatically against that illness, so I don't know. Adopts a miserly spending style towards both self and others. Money is viewed as something to be hoarded for future catastrophes. Yeah, but I actually do need to do that, otherwise there will be future catastrophes, so I don't know if that really counts. Shows significant rigidity and stubbornness. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that, because everyone knows that describes me, but yeah. So that gives you an example of that diagnosis. The other diagnosis is one that I really didn't agree with when I got it. I thought, no, that is wrong. And then I've mentioned it to a couple of others and they're like, oh yeah, that fits you. Oh, I mean, my dad had mentioned it to me before I got diagnosed, but I think it's because he reads maybe the first 2 symptoms of any mental illness and he immediately diagnoses everyone around him. He's been obsessed that his partner has got Asperger's for years and years and years now and uses it as a way to describe her without even thinking about it all the time. She's never been diagnosed with this thing. I think that she does lack empathy, but that doesn't necessarily always mean Asperger's. Sometimes it's just the way you've been brought up, sometimes it's relationship to your parents, sometimes it's relationship to those around you. I don't know. But she's never been diagnosed with it, so I don't diagnose her with it in my head. Because otherwise you could potentially call anyone with no empathy Asperger's, which could potentially lead to you calling a psychopath, therefore Asperger's or whatever else. And yeah, anyway. I'm trying to not say it, aren't I? Basically, I was diagnosed a little while ago with bipolar, which I found really bizarre because I thought the people that I've met with bipolar have got really quite extreme mania and really quite extreme depression, which I don't. When I do get low, and I call it low now because I now have gotten into the habit of calling it highs and lows, because it's been called bipolar. So now I'm like, okay, well there's two definite sides, so I'll call it a high and a low. In the past I've called it unmotivated and motivated. To me, my highs are never bad, but yeah, when I am low, it does kind of fit the bill, the descriptions. I mean, it could just fit depression anyway, but I've always been convinced I don't have depression, and I still don't think I've ever had depression. But, you know, it does get so that I can't even go downstairs, put something in the bin. I do suddenly want to cry at everything. It does suddenly wash over me. The last time it happened, I was washing up, and then suddenly it was like, oh my god, everything is terrible and life is terrible. And I don't exactly get paranoid, but I get really panicky. Like on the bus, there was a lot of beeping the other day, and it was like a very rhythmic beeping that was consistently going, and then I ended up convincing myself, or not convincing myself, but just being fearful of staying on the bus because I thought it might be a bomb, and that it was some sort of terrorist attack, and that I was going to die, and so everyone else on the bus, and that I needed to get off. I didn't get off, but I kind of wanted to. And there's always things like that. I saw someone walk into KFC the other day holding a ball, and I decided it was a bomb. I hear some creaking around at night, and I've decided someone's going to crash into my flat and try and kill me. There's a bit in my ceiling that dips down quite low and is quite dark, and it shouldn't be like that, and I'm convinced that if I ever go underneath that area, it's going to crash down and kill me. Things like that. The minute one of my pets are ill, I'm like, it's going to die. It's going to die. I detach myself. I'm like, yeah, they're going to die. I need to rehome them. I don't want to cope with this. I never do, but I'm like, yeah, this is that, and this is that, and this is going to happen. Right now, Sophie's really sleepy, and she came out and she laid down, and I'm already convincing myself that she's going to die. She's going to die. Yeah, things like that. And then I have my motivated moments where I decide to paint the entire flat, and suddenly everything is wonderful, and I put up a video like, oh my god, I'm body confident today, and I'm going on and on about all these different ideas. I'm on a high at the moment, although I'm not really getting much done on this high, but I'm like motivated to talk. I've made this video, I wouldn't do this on a low. I even posted a video on my main channel which I wouldn't do on a low, and things like that. And I have now been put on meds for it, lamotrigine, and they've been slowly building up the dose. I'm up to 100 milligrams a day though now, which really isn't that high, but she's going to keep increasing it for a little bit. But it does seem to have helped a lot. The thing is, I don't want my highs to go away because they get things done. I just want my lows to go away. In fact, my highs I wouldn't even say, because they're not manic and because they don't put me in any danger or anything. You know, I don't hear voices or experience some of the symptoms that are online with highs. I'm quite happy with them. Like I say, they get me to do things. I can think a little bit clearly. I can, well, maybe not that clearly, but I can think faster. But then, you know, in the past I've said that I suffered from racing thoughts and racing memories. They do also increase when I'm in my highs, and they like get really slow and all-consuming when I'm in my lows. But, you know, I wouldn't say they were quite the same symptoms as things that, you know, only you can see or hear that aren't really there, because, you know, they're memories and thoughts, so I know they're not there. But I don't really know what else to say. I guess I just wanted to talk about that, and so you guys know exactly what it is that I have got and what it is that I have other than eating disorder, because all you guys have ever known about is eating disorder and, well, self-harm, but that's not a diagnosis. I don't do that. Used to, but don't now. Yeah. wanted to just upload a video saying exactly what it was that I was experiencing in my life right now. I still don't actually think that I'm bipolar, but I do think that I'm on these meds that are for bipolar, or just for mood stabilising. Like, they're most often used in bipolar, but they're for mood stabilising. They're also for epilepsy. But yeah, are helping. So I don't know. And some of the symptoms that they point at are helping. And I don't know if you guys have heard the phrase, but I'm like, okay, it's great when I'm in this position now, you know, my eating will be fine, but they need to keep an eye on me in case of the brain switch. And I've always said, like, the brain switch, like, if my brain switches, then we're all screwed, we need to stop that brain switch. And now I'm like, if I do have bipolar, that's just when I get into the depressive state, the brain switch. It's like, I don't know, but yeah, I'm really nervous about going on holiday. God. Yeah. What is this tiny little bug that's been walking around on my desk like the tiniest little bug that it is, and I want to pick it up for you. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it's here, on my nail. You can't see it at all because it's so tiny and because it's flying in front of my face. What am I doing with my life? I'm sorry. I will leave you alone now, and hope that you guys are all okay. Been finding it really hard to actually talk to my friends again, even though I know that they need me, for fuck's sake. Yeah, maybe soon when I can pick up my hands and type. That is literally all that I have to effing do, but I'm not effing doing it. But yes, yay. See you guys soon. Goodbye. Stay strong. Hope that you are all okay. Yeah.